Welcome back. So now we're doing the second campaign. So just like in Forbidden Memories, you can just press continue and the game will just restart in New Game Plus.
Again, you know what? For games of this time, I think that's pretty handy. I don't recall most games doing stuff like this. I mean, granted, it's not too much story you're skipping, but all the same, splendid. In keeping with the tradition of the old temple gardens, I offer you a choice, duelist.
Lies.
Actually, he's not lying, Joe. We're already established that this set was good.
Didn't you say that there's no choice when you play the game again?
Well, okay, yeah. In this New Game Plus, yes, but I guess they couldn't really, but they didn't alter the dialogue because canonically it still happens the same way. Yeah.
Alright, let's choose the Lancastrians then.
It's against my better judgment, but yes, let's check out the Lancastrian campaign.
How disappointing.
You're still smiling.
Oh well, you made your choice, and I respect that. For now, I will guarantee your safe passage until you've met with you. Oh my god, even when we don't side with him, he is a pretty chill guy.
Yeah.
After all, I don't want our little game to end too quickly. That wouldn't be sporting. And it makes sense for the Middle Ages and whatnot to be sporting.
You know, it's like, watching Seto be this unapologetically nice to me. It's just like, it just feels weird and off. Like it's like watching Al Pacino not chew scenery. It's just alien, you know.
Like seriously, I would have thought at least he would have then got angry and dueled us, but no.
Anyway, yeah,
fine.
We're taken to the
saxophone.
Because
they are the good guys.
Go ahead, too. Just say Pedro, too.
I know. Pedro, I present Prince Yugi. This priest of Lancaster, the true worshipman in the hills.
There you
go. Why you call yourself Joe anyway?
It's the name of a save. Although for some reason he's not right. I present Pedro, the Rose Duelist.
There you go, too. Yugi's actually a Welsh prince. There you go.
Yugi's a great Welsh.
You serve us well, Simon. My mother was wise in summoning you from Scotland.
I wanted Yugi to have a Welsh accent. You serve us well, Simon.
Well, we're going into 4 kids' voices.
My name is Yugi Porto, man.
Duelist, I am Yugi. Actually, Yugi Tudor is my name, but I find it tiresome. You may call me Yugi.
Yugi's just a convenient nickname.
I'm sure Simon explained our situation, but it's only right that I request your services myself.
Okay. To give it credit, maybe it's just a case where Simon really sucks at presenting stuff.
I need you to return to England and put an end to the threat of the Rose Crusaders. Go ahead and beat the shit out of those English. Their white rose cards form a barrier that prevents my armies from setting foot on British soil. There you go. England is protecting itself with a card barrier. God damn it, Webbs, you didn't tell us about those secrets you guys had over there. Although we Celts have the red rose cards, we are but inheritors to our unable to wield their full power. Because we kind of... Yeah, basically Yugi's side kind of sucks. So we need to do everything for them. In the hopes of reversing our fortunes, we gamble on a druid legend that spoke of a rose duelist. Yeah, that's basically it. The reason they were so desperate to summon me here is because they literally suck at what they do.
According to the same legend, one must use a deck whose cost is lower than an opponent to capture a rose card.
Yeah, I'm on New Game Plus. I already know how that works.
It's weird because they still do win in the long run.
Yeah, I believe that it is important that you keep this in mind. The cost of your deck should not exceed the cost...
Of your soul!
Of your opponent's deck. I would like you to note that our resources have been pressed to the limit, requiring us to invade England by August.
We have so many
There you go, Dibs. Next month, Welsh is coming for you. Well, my troops will land in Milford Haven, Wales, and march on to face the enemy at Bosworth Field.
First they took Doctor Who from you.
Having all of the Rose Crusaders out of
company.
Having all the Rose Crusaders out of commission by this time would be ideal, but as that might prove difficult, yeah. Any reduction of their force would be appreciated.
What, even if it's just by one person?
Yeah,
kill them if you can.
Well, it's better than nothing. Right then, let us part company and we're going to have in Bosworth. Simon will give you the details of where and we'll meet once more. Yeah, basically we're not going to see Yugi until the end of the game now. Basically.
I mean, again, I just want to remind you with Seto's.
To be honest.
Well, to be fair, I'd say that Seto at least still did occasionally show up and help us, or at least give us advice from time to time.
Fork in the road in here?
No, not really, Joe. He just appears. Anyway, yeah, we actually have two opponents. We can fight Weevil underworld.
Really?
He's in Chester.
Chester.
And
there's Rex, isn't it?
Yes. Actually, first let me just change my deck. Okay. So yeah. Now time to invade England.
I thought it wasn't till next month.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Depends on when this gets published.
What he said was that Yugi's going to come in and invade England by August. So until that time comes, we're supposed to come here and defeat as many Rose Crusaders as we can, basically. So basically, we have to defeat Kaiba's henchmen and Kaiba himself, so that we can weaken the Yorkists, so that the Lancastrians can come in and conquer England.
You really like King Tiger Wango, I see.
It's like, well, that's the thing, Jova. It's more the deck leader. Okay, let me put it this way, Jova. I've looked into the various monsters and their various deck leader abilities, because they're using the same deck leader concept from the that's inspired. I'm guessing it's inspired by the deck master concept from the third season of the anime. Or probably the manga at this point, because at this point I feel like we weren't exactly at that point in the manga, in the anime, even in Japan, I think. Whatever. The point is, it's the same thing as the deck master concept from the third season, the one where we fight against the Big Five. The thing is, Jova, I've looked for various monsters because as you can see right there, you can check the leader ability of every card. The leader abilities all kind of suck really bad. So honestly, I don't recommend bothering too much with picking a specific deck leader. Just pick whatever you can and just use your primary deck, because most of the deck leader abilities that I saw are not really worth the trouble, if you ask me. Anyway, okay, so like I said, the basic idea is we're going to weaken Seto's henchmen as much as we can, so that the Welsh can come in and invade England by August. So prepare yourself, Dwibs. That rose barrier is coming down.
I have to say though, Pedro, you're kind of exposing the Welsh tactics to me right now. I can see everything you're doing as you're doing it, meaning I've got time to prepare a counter-attack.
Exactly.
Oops.
Indeed.
Alright, men. The Welsh enemy are really stupid. They're exposing their plans right in front of us at this very moment. So everyone, prepare to counter.
So, that's okay. It's okay. Unfortunately for you, Dwibs, I have Meteor Black Dragon in my deck. So you guys are toast.
Oh yeah? Well, we've got Panther Warrior, I think. And Dark Magician Girl.
That's yeah. So okay, remember, Dwibs, the idea behind this is that the Wars of the Roses were actually card games. Little did you know.
Oh.
Well, I mean, hey, that's one way to end the duel. Fire a cannon at it.
You mean catapultural, maybe?
Hey, Pedro. Nowhere in the dueling rulebook does it say that a duel cannot end by the duel arena being blown up.
I guess.
All I have to do is, if we're losing, all I have to do is fire a cannonball at the opponent. The opponent dies, therefore he forfeits and we win the duel.
What you're describing is something that would happen instead in Season 0 and the early stages of the manga, because again, as demonstrated by Season 0, it wasn't just about dual monsters. Yami would just be incredibly creative, and to be fair, one little trivia that I will mention again during the final thoughts for a specific reason. Each manga came out with one of its final pages having actual instruction for you to recreate obviously, more friendly, non-lethal version of the game that Yami would use. So it wasn't just a matter of telling a story, but also providing, different form of tabletop entertainment. That was pretty cool, especially for something like Shonen Jump, who will normally not do that kind of thing.
All right, this deck should be good because remember I have to constantly change my deck to make sure I have a deck capacity as inferior to my opponent because that's the only way I can get the rose card. Again,
you're the underdog in this fight. You're rising above those who are above you.
Fortunately, no, because I'm good at
voicing Weevil.
me. So you're the legendary rose duelist. Prepare to face the sting of my insect deck. Remember, I already did this in Witch of Destruction.
I forgot, my bad.
I do Weevil and I do Rex. Don't worry, I still remember. I also do Pegasus, if you remember correctly.
Yeah. That I remember. I forgot if I did mention this specific bit, but surprisingly enough, Weevil is one particular case where my country did not really decide to just stick with the English name given to the character and instead do something peculiar. Not even just in the original Japanese version, the character is called Insector Haga. Which kind of makes sense because still funny name and everything. While instead, in English, we will want to rule. For my country, instead, they kept the last name of the Japanese version, Haga, but the first name was instead translated to something that can translate as a special caterpillar, something like that.
So basically it amounts to an insect pun, like all the others.
Yeah, it's still some kind of an insect pun, but it's kind of unique, and it's unique because it's kind of basically the only major case where it's like that. Every other character gets the name that has a specific case, the same name that they had in the English version of the story. So if it was a case of non-translated stuff like Seto or Yugi, you would keep that. But people like Junichi becoming Joy, they kept instead that. Weevil was just the only major exception. I don't understand why.
Italy works in mysterious ways.
Yeah, these first two duels against Weevil and Rex are very, very easy. Again, being to
be fair, they're the beginner matches in terms of
obviously. So you don't have.
You feel it's a bit of a shame that they didn't make this like a glorified New Game Plus mode. Where second time it goes around, it's tougher.
Honestly, no. This game already requires enough grinding as it is. Like making the opponents even tougher on a second run would make the grinding even more exponential, and I don't really.
That's what happens instead in Fallbound Kingdom because you have at the game you have to choose between one of two stories, one that stars Yugi and the other that stars Kaiba. Once you beat that one, you can play the other one, but it's on a sort of a harder difficulty, and that's because it unlocks also the true final boss, as in, the locks. It's kind of like Sonic Adventure 2, in a sense that once you beat
Go Panther Warrior!
The second story that you beat also unlocks like the true final story beat. Sure.
Alright.
Again, it would be cool to see a Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon crossover.
I mean, I will say it's weird, but to be fair, Pokemon had a crossover with Nobunaga's ambition of all things, so I don't even know what's reality anymore.
I know, right? I was so surprised when I figured out that was a thing too.
I don't even know what was the context behind it. It was like one of the developers, of one of Nobunaga's ambition was interested in Pokemon, and they asked, the Pokemon company. They were like, okay, it's just feels bizarre. Pokken, when you look at something like Pokken Tournament, and sure, it is different from things, but you can tell that it's still trying to be consistent with the world of Pokemon in some kind of way. If anything, it's a bit closer to, say, for example, the anime, where the fights are more action-based, on that front. So, fair things. Sorry?
Given how a lot of Japanese crossovers are made or get started these days, I wouldn't be surprised if it was something as mundane as one developer accidentally knocking into another developer on the street, apologizing, taking them out for lunch, and then eventually...
That's kind of how Kingdom Hearts did it. Well, it wasn't in a street, but it was in an elevator, but it was literally a random meeting. So.
A similar thing like that kind of helped get Sora into Smash as well.
I mean, mind you, you have to remember that instead, Toby Fox have to personally, invade Sakurai's personal space to actually want him to escort Sansa.
Yeah, usually these crossovers are a result of that. I mean, the only one that from Japan that I can think of that was more premeditated was, of course, Hino pitching the crossover to Capcom.
Oh yeah. Now, when it came to Sora getting into Smash, I don't recall the exact locale, but I do remember it apparently being that Sakurai had like a chance encounter with a Disney executive, and the rest is history.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised. Well, okay, there is another one. Remember, Final Fantasy XIV a couple years ago had a Yokai Watch event, and that's because both Hino and Yoshida are drinking buddies. So that was probably just like one of them was got a bit too drunk, and what would be fun if we had a crossover between our franchises, and the other one was also nearly as drunk, so we went along with it. And by the time they started doing it, they got sober, like, you know what, might as well roll with it. Let's do it.
Now, only something could have come out from that time that Sakurai hung out with Shu Takumi and Hideki Kamiya.
Sorry, Drova.
Absurd everything.
Yeah.
Honestly, that is kind of baffling, Even if it wasn't my top request, the fact that Ultimate went through its entire cycle without a single, bit of representation for Ace Attorney, not even in spirits, it just feels odd, admittedly.
It really is odd. Like, they had neither Ace Attorney nor
and I honestly don't believe it's really Capcom's fault or Seizo being stingy, because, they weren't really, that having problems just dumping stuff from Resident Evil, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be honest, like, they had stuff way more obscure than Ace Attorney in that game. And yes, even stuff from outside of Nintendo.
Well, let's just sticking just with Capcom, Drova, on that front, they were not. They were just relatively playing safe. Again, it just feels odd. That's all. That's all you need to say. I cannot agree more in another place where it's more,
But yeah, fighting Weevil, bug monster stuff.
Basically, yeah.
And at the very least, I guess this one format makes Ultimate Great Moth working better, I guess. Seriously, consider how sped up the format has evolved in all these years. The entire gimmick of Ultimate Great Moth is just laughable in hindsight, and it had to be updated with a retraining.
On the subject of recent Yu-Gi-Oh! Media that I've been looking at, I saw the first episode of the Dub of V reigns. No, sorry, wrong show. Sevens. Sorry, Sevens.
Okay, the new series.
Yeah, it's certainly different. I'll give it that. And that, okay, well, first of all, it's not animated by Gallop anymore. It's from Bridge. And basically the premise of the show is that the main character thinks the way the current dueling is run is so rule obsessed and so stingy and restrictive that he makes his own.
So he thinks just like me regarding current Yu-Gi-Oh card games.
So he decides to make a new format called Rush Duels.
Yeah.
And he starts to spread it around his elementary school, and it starts to become quite the phenomena around the not just the school, but eventually throughout the whole town.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's basically the premise. Basically, what they were trying to do with Sevens was go in a completely different direction. They're not. It's not strictly aimed at teenagers anymore. They've lowered the age.
Which is funny.
The age target of it.
Which is funny.
Honestly,
it's aimed more at smaller kids.
Honestly, Dibs, considering how absolutely pandering, absolutely insultingly brainless Zexel was, I will argue that one did that first.
I'm not okay. Zexel had a lot of problems. I'm not sure pandering was one of its issues. It was more just like, it was very blatant.
What I mean, Joe, is that it's appealing to the to the lowest common denominator because it's so unapologetically dumb and terrible. So
again, I wouldn't necessarily say that that's grounds to call it pandering, though. Like, I mean, okay, to its credit, and mind you, it does not have many, I never really felt like it was treating its audiences like dumb ones. It's just that the show itself had reference in the audacity of how stupid it is. That being
And to think, Jova, that was 4Kids' last gasp.
Was it really? If I recall correctly, in fact, wasn't Zexo when they kind of were out the door, essentially?
What happened was, 4Kids did, I know they did the first series of Zexo, or maybe a bit of this, at least a bit of the second, before they before the production side of them got bought by Konami and turned into 4K Media, who picked up the dub from then on.
Yeah, basically.
And you could definitely tell something was different, for better or for worse. Although, again, I really, really do wish that they could have done more with that thing where 4Kids actually did suck it up. And
now I lost! This can't be happening!
Anyway, but yeah, I wish that they could have done more of that cool thing they were doing where they were releasing episodes uncut but fully dubbed, like even including the
we unlocked we unlocked two more duelists, so let's see who they are.
Unfortunately, Jova, it was one of those cases where people
Pegasus Crawford in Lancashire.
When they did get them.
And wait, Benedict Keith, what are you doing with what are you doing with the Union Jack? You're supposed to be American.
No, Pedro. It's British Keith.
It's Brit Keith. Like it's just.
Although to be fair, Pedro, the Americans were British first, so.
Oh well, yeah, I get that, but like, I mean,
it wouldn't make sense for him to have an American flag at this point.
I guess I feel like I feel like instead of the Keith, I feel like we could have picked a different Yu-Gi-Oh character to be in here, you know?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a Keith that makes sense with the environment and whatnot. Although, yeah, I definitely do notice that it's interesting that these guys apparently work for Seto's clan, interestingly enough. But no, seriously though, I wish that we could have seen more 4Kids doing those dubs uncut, because, you know, and I'll give them credit, they actually weren't bad. The ones I saw on DVD were actually pretty good.
Here's an example.
I think my favorite one has to be, hey, remember when Kaiba came back from the dead? At least in the uncut dub version.
Oh, that, yeah.
I mentioned coming back from the dead, and now he's going to take you down to hell.
This time, Yugi, you don't stand a ghost of a chance.
Okay. Wait. I don't think that one was the one. I'm talking about the whole fake Kaiba thing.
Well, that's the one. That's the one I'm talking about. Like the one that turns into a gay clown, as little Koribo put it in his original episode.
Let me guess. Well, it's weird. I thought you were quoting like the actual episode there. Like it would make more sense you were.
Well, actually, that's the thing, but that's an actual line from the actual episode. Like it's one of those lines.
I'm referring to the uncut version.
Wait. Okay, if I remember correctly, 4Kids only did the first 9 episodes uncut, didn't they? I don't think they did any more after that, did they?
I do know it at least did get to the point of some episodes in Duelist Kingdom, including Joey's duel against Mai, and the fight against the fake Kaiba.
I haven't seen those. As far as I was aware, it was only the first 9 episodes.
Basically, the whole "you don't stand a ghost of a chance" thing was replaced more so with the bouts of him intending to come back from hell and take Yugi with him.
I'm guessing an actual proper direct translation of the Japanese version.
It was a proper translation, but it still was done in a way that the dialogue flowed well. Like it thankfully was not a literal translation like some might have feared in that case. Again, those uncut. I'd say that those uncut dubs actually show that 4Kids could have made a good dub overall.
That actually reminds me of the point that I was trying to make in the previous part about the translation of the GBA version of Chain of Memories. Because remember, in that one, Axel, instead of saying, instead of got it memorized, he says committed to memory, which is a direct, like, literal translation of the Japanese line. Problem is, that sounds good in Japanese. In English, it sounds a bit clunky for him to say, I'm Axel, committed to memory. Got it memorized as a question, sounds way better in English.
You actually mentioned that already in the previous part.
But
that's
I didn't
right,
finish my point, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, that's my thing with when you translate or localize an anime. When you're doing dialogue, you have to be careful of two things. It matches what the original one was trying to do, while also making sure it sounds more natural in English. Otherwise, you'll end up. I know I keep bringing this up, but it's one of the biggest examples in recent years. You'll end up with Netflix Evangelion, where for some reason Studio Kara decided, yeah, you know what, these localizers and translators keep fucking things up. We'll do it ourselves. What do you mean we barely know English?
I will give some creators credit that sometimes going for the exact same meaning behind some words, I can get why sometimes they change the meanings behind some words. In fact, in some cases, it does lead to an improvement.
Alright,
Yeah, the
next
general
up is
idea
Rex.
is-
Now, Ross, duelist, hey? I'm not impressed. In fact, I'll crush you to a pulp with my dinosaur deck.
Yeah, I got Dino DNA and everything.
Ah, yes, I remember the.
Tio, that's
yeah,
Hasselberry you're
I know,
thinking
but it's
of.
still I'm Hasselberry.
Yes,
But-
I remember the great English soldier Rex Raptor.
Anyway, what I was saying before instead is also when it comes to, anime premise of the anime of Yu-Gi-Oh, where the kid invents basically the new gimmick and has to basically impose it to everyone else. Arcvy also is guilty of this with the pendulum mechanic, where fucking Yuma decided to just waltz in with his stupid performer pals, and the Dimensional Dragons and, curb stomp everyone because of course they don't understand normally how pendulum works. But yeah.
Basically, yeah. Alright, so as you can see, Rex's field is mostly rock and labyrinth.
So does he actually have in his possession, the blue eyes? Sorry, the red eyes black dragon?
I don't think so. He doesn't. I don't think he brings it in this duel. Yeah, he has the two-headed Rex like he has in the anime, but I don't think he brings out the red eyes black dragon, or at least if he does have it, he didn't draw it apparently. Because if I remember correctly, he doesn't have it in this game. Again, as far as I can tell, I would. For all I know, maybe it's somewhere in his deck, but he wasn't lucky and didn't draw it. Maybe, I don't know. It's, well, I guess we'll just have to, maybe there's a site that says what deck he has. Alright then. Yeah. No, but that's definitely... No, that's definitely, what say is very much correct. It's one of those cases where it's incredibly imperative, like, because this isn't even just a matter of English dubs. Dubs all over the world have to contend with that particular... yes, too?
No, go on.
Dubs all over the world have to contend with that because it's... because what work... this is the thing that anime purists don't understand. What works for one language will not necessarily work for another. But...
It's not practical.
No, not at all.
See, there you go. There's Rex's deck. Anthrosaurus, Armorizor, they're trapped. No, it doesn't have a Red Eyes Black Dragon. Weird. Considering again, like you think we will take advantage of that in order to reference.
I actually just remembered something. Actually, me and Dwebs recently watched Pokemon Heroes, and like we do in the podcast with the G4 Blue Zone comms, I also was looking into the Japanese version so I could throw out some trivia to Dwebs. One of the most fun things for me is how at the end when the two sisters are arguing over their failure, and in the English version it's your typical banter of like if we did it my way, we wouldn't be like this, and blah blah blah. It's your typical banter about these things. But in the Japanese version, one of them brings up, you've been doing this since we were little kids in kindergarten, and then the other one replies with, remember this is the Japanese version, and the other one replies with, man, girls with good memories are the worse. And me and those are just like, what the fuck is that? Girls with good memories are the worst. Yeah, no wonder Forecast changed that line, because that line is just fucking stupid.
Yeah, that's my thing. That's my thing with original intent. Sometimes said original intent is so poor, really, that they can just kiss me off.
Maybe that kind of thing is perfectly fine to say in Japanese, maybe, but yeah, saying it in the saying that kind of thing in the Western culture, yeah, that can kind of come off as, you know,
extremely sexist.
Again, it's one of those I guess it's one of those cultural changes that's just unavoidable. Maybe, I don't know. Cultural differences. Oh well, but yeah.
Hopefully things have gotten better over there since.
Anyway, from what I checked from the guide, the same guide, apparently it's listed that apparently Weevil is considered easier, so you should start with him. But honestly, considering seeing both of these decks in action, they seem to be kind of on the same level to me.
They are. Well, that's
I mean, to be fair, Pedro has the advantage that he pretty much can get whatever card he wants thanks to...
Even just in terms of, you know, what cards they do pack on their own, you know, without the quality, regardless of the quality of what the player character tends to have.
From what I've seen, Rex has better firepower, which also kind of matches the show and whatnot. Again, Weevil uses a bug deck, and bug decks, especially in the earlier years of Yu-Gi-Oh, were not exactly the big talks of town to write home about.
Mm-hmm.
Even so today, Joe, I got to the point where there's only a few bug cards who are actually, you know, competent when it comes to the meta, and they're not even your traditional bug type, but instead basically Sentai references within Zector archetype.
Well, that is the thing. Like, that's kind of the whole point of the deck capacity number. You know, the deck capacity number kind of serves as your indicator of how strong the character's deck is. So you can, of course, prepare a deck, and if you manage to build a deck that's on par with that number, that means that you, in theory, have a deck that's on par with that character's deck. Obviously, you still have to make sure you construct a proper, well-balanced deck. And yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Victory is yours.
Yeah, Rex Raptor primarily operates on brute force, and since my cards are way stronger than his, it's a cinch.
Pretty much.
Mammoth Graveyard, Two-Headed King Rex, and Eternal Rest.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good set.
Well, it's the one you get. Alright, now loading. What? Me? Lose? I don't believe it!
I would believe it, motherfucker.
Oh, at least he's confident enough in his masculinity to wear pink. So good for you.
And we got his
a synchro card!
And we got his card. And 2 more opponents get unlocked. Alright.
We're unlocking them by the day.
I noticed that there's a lot more forks with Yugi's.
Alright, here's Necroman. Yeah, and Bonds for what? Okay, Darkness. Okay, so Pain is called Darkness Ruler, and Bonds is called Necromancer. I'm guessing these were the original Japanese names, maybe?
I'll check in between parts, so why not?
No.
Which is weird, because remember, they use they use Joey for Jono in this game, so clearly the people who localized this game were aware of the anime, so...
I wouldn't be surprised if these are just name changes made for, like, the shift in the timeline in this regard, whereas, you know, others are like, you know, oh, that's not too out there as a name, but then you got stuff like Panic or... Shit, what was that zombie kid's name again?
Bonds.
Bonds, but yeah, okay. The small research that I'm actually doing right now mentioned that those are the names of their incarnation of this time period. So it might be that.
Okay, so I was right about that in that regard. Like, I mean, again, some names work, others definitely don't, and I can get why they changed it to that.
It still feels inconsistent, admittedly.
Well, anyway, everybody, we have plenty of Yorkists to choose from when it comes to choosing who to battle next, but if I remember correctly, next time we're going to battle Necromancer, so tune in for that.
Yeah.
Have fun with that.
See it.